Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Paula Robbins, and I am the founder and creator of ConsciousPreneurs International. And I'm so grateful and honored to be here with my dear friend, Brooke Hengst. So Brooke is a real estate agent, and Brooke's been doing real estate for quite a few years, and I've known her, gosh, what has it been, 10?
It's been over 10 years. I think it's been over 10.
Well, you've been so fun to follow and get to know and just to become such a good friend with. I just adore you so much. So grateful to have you here. I'm excited about this conversation, especially because I think people don't necessarily correlate real estate and consciousness. So you're such the perfect person for this interview to help them understand how this marries so well. So thank you so much for doing this. Welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. And I'm so grateful to have had you in my life for the past decade. And I'm just grateful to be here.
Cool. Well, all right. Well, let's get started. I've got some really cool questions for you to kind of share with other consciouspreneurs and anyone who wants to kind of listen and learn. How does this all kind of come together? So let's talk a little bit first about your road. When did you get into real estate? When did you start really understanding just how personal this business is to the consciousness of the soul?
Yeah, great question. That's a deep one for sure.
Starting off deep.
I know. I got into real estate in 2009, but kind of the precursor events of leading up to that is I had bought my own first home in Texas 1 year prior in 2008. And I just really enjoyed that process. I enjoyed what that industry looked like and felt like. And I said, hey, I'm working now in Texas. I don't need to change careers. But when the opportunity presents where I need a new industry, I'm getting a real estate license. I didn't know when that would happen, where, how, but I just said that to myself. I said, when I need a new job, I'm going to be a real estate agent. And as the universe conspired, a year later, we were relocating from Texas to Colorado, and the market had just tanked. And I said, you know what? I said I was going to get a real estate license. And so that's what I did. So in 2009, I got my license. I had just moved to Colorado. The economy was really struggling, if you remember. A lot of people were in distressed situations, foreclosures, short sales. And I decided, well, here I am. Let's go. Let's do this. So that's how it all
remember. That's when we met. You had just stepped into real estate. So it was about 2009.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, because we were both kind of in the same networking circles.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So it's interesting to me. A lot of people, I don't think that they would really correlate how being a real estate agent and being a consciouspreneur would really marry. So let's shed some light on them for that. Tell everybody who's listening or watching how consciousness and your role are just so natural.
Yeah. So I guess to start with that, when I looked at this question and kind of I dove into like, what is consciousness for me? Right. Consciousness for me is an awareness, is an energy, is an intuition. And, without getting woo-woo with my clients, I lead with that when I meet with them. And when certain things pop up in the situation, in the transaction, I just say, hey, you know what, this is an energy thing. We're going to feel our way through this. But there is so much, Paula, about real estate and energy and the consciousness, because oftentimes I'm dealing with people and they've had a major shift in their life. You don't just wake up and say, I'm going to buy a new house. There's something generally that has happened in your life, whether it's a marriage or children or a divorce or a relocation. And those are big energetic shifts in our life. And right. So to be able to go into that with a knowing of that, whether the client knows it or not, I do. There's something amazing about that I had no idea I would be able to go into and have a knack for, but it just fit me in the industry and how I work with clients.
Well, and they say that, moving is one of the top 5 stresses of our lifetime. And yes. I've moved an awful lot. So yeah, I totally agree. And it is something that when somebody goes through a move, you really know that there's just so much about their life that's so different. So tell us an interesting experience of how you can share in the arena of how your work and consciousness just really married well.
For me, it goes back to clients in major life situations. I had a family that had come to me. They had just lost an adult son, like weeks before, saying, look, we need to sell the house. We need to move. We got to go. So in that situation, just walking into a very thick, heavy veil of everything that they had been going through, I said, look, I have no problems selling your house. We can get that done, but we need to know where you're going next, and what does life look like next, and what does that look like for you as a family and as a couple even, because running away from the house where your son had lived and grown up, I get that, but we need to make sure that we have an understanding of why we're leaving and make peace with that. So that story just has always resonated with me. And, that family did say, hey, Brooke, we so appreciate you. We want to take a couple more months to figure this out, to think on this. And then it was actually about 60 days later, they called and said, hey, we're ready. We've made that decision. We've come to peace with that. We love this house, but we're ready to move on. Yeah. So, and that gives me chill bumps even still thinking about that, because I remember what I felt when I walked into that house, and it was heavy. Oh. And I just said, I know why you're feeling the way you are, but we want to make sure that we're making this decision from our own authenticity rather than running,
Well, and, I know a lot of real estate agents, and I obviously work in the field of metaphysics and consciousness. And you and I have done a few of the real estate investment things. So we've talked about this so much. But one of the things, that I do is I do house clearings, and I go to people's homes and do stuff like that. But your story right there, it is so critical that they can also get to a place of saying goodbye to this home. Because I believe that the home has its own soul too.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
And the home has to be able to let go just as well, and just be a part of that grief process. And yeah, that does get a little bit woo-woo, but it's been my experience time and time again that your home has to be right for sale, and your home has to be right for your present day where you're living, which leads me to the next question, because we've had this conversation a few times. So you do such a great job of putting out information and suggestions and tips and tools and things for people who are buyers or sellers or homeowners. But I kind of want to focus on the homeowners, because so many people are home right now. Yeah. And they're living in their home space. People are spring cleaning and winter cleaning and, getting rid of all kinds of stuff and purging. You've had some of the best tips for people. What are some of these tips that come top of mind for people who are in their homes right now?
In your home, your environment sets the stage for your energy. And so for every seller, when I walk in, whether they want to sell now or later or not, I just say your top thing you've got to do is clean and declutter. You've got to have your spaces be organized and debris free, because when you walk into an environment and there's stuff everywhere, your brain can't physically operate in the way that it should. Right. And I know for me, I'm telling you that as a fact, because my house is a mess right now and I have anxiety walking through, and I'm like, I have got to just crank up some music and just get it done. The other thing about that is that within that space, I call them my clutter corners, but they're also energy bandits. Those clutter corners carry energy. And, at my house, we do Sage Sunday. My kids are involved. That's just what we do. We walk around with the sage and we sage the rooms and we clear the clutter. And that is how we kind of reset that energy in our home weekly. Some people get that. Some people are like, what do you mean? What's that weird smell? But I think if you can have some type of ritual in your home that resets the energy, whatever that is for you, and you can keep your spaces visually organized, those are my top two keys. And if you do need to sell your house, those are going to be huge benefits to you in that process as well.
Well, and saging and smudging are both, really big factors. When I go clear a home, being intuitive, I'm grateful I can kind of tell what energy, where energy, what to do with the energy, if it's not necessarily the home energy, without getting too metaphysical. And smudging is a really critical process, as well as organizing. But, I think sometimes people also, because I know for me, as much as I know the value of smudging, I don't like the smell of sage. And that's, tough thing to say as a metaphysician who clears homes. But I'm a big fan of like Florida water and Palo Santo wood. There's so many different great things that you can use and read about and find that
Yeah.
are so critical. And even if you don't ever do something like that, if that's too woo-woo, one of the things that you and I've talked about, sometimes just literally just changing the energy of your space, everything is different. When you
Yeah.
clean, when you organize, when you purge, when you sit down and at a meal and have laughter with people that you love, the whole energy of your home vibration is going to be different. So,
Absolutely. I've had a couple listings that have sat for far too long, and I will literally just go, I'll say, hey, I need your house for an hour. And I'll literally just go and walk through the house and look at it through the lenses of a new buyer. And okay, do we need to shift the sofa? Hey, I'm going to rearrange your living room. Hey, I'm going to paint your bathroom. It's just those little things that just being in the home, you're like, okay, something's off and I can't quite figure it out. So you're the real expert there. You're the person I call when it's really heavy and I can't just shift some furniture. But even just walking in and being present is pretty huge.
well, and people say it all the time. One of the questions that I ask people that I work with is when you walk into a space, can you sense the energy or mood? Or have you ever walked into a place and immediately said, "Ooh, I don't want to be here,"
Yeah,
right? I've never had anyone say no to that question.
right.
Every single person I've ever asked that question to, have you ever walked into a space and immediately said, "Ooh, I don't want to be here"? Like sometime throughout your life, everyone's always said, "Yeah, oh yeah."
Mhm.
You can feel it. People
Oh,
can feel
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Right, right.
So let's move on then, because I kind of like the tips and tools thing. What are
Mhm.
some of the conscious tips for people who are buyers or sellers? I mean, this is on the same genre. Is there anything you'd add to somebody who's actually going to either buy a home or sell a home? And that may be two questions, but what are some of those specific tips that fall into the kind of consciousness marriage?
Yeah, I think for my buyers, and I really prep them, especially, here in Colorado, we have a very competitive market.
Yeah.
And I prep them that, hey, we have to walk into a property with the expectation that we may love it, but it may not be the one. On the flip side of that, you might see something online that you think, oh my God, that's the one, and it went under contract. So we really just have to be open to it may not be the one when we think it is. The other part of that is walking into a home, it's not necessarily all about what we see, it's about the bones of that structure. Maybe there is a yellow, ugly wall in the kitchen. Maybe the bathroom is laid out a little bit weird, but energetically, the bones of that house, has potential for whoever walks in and chooses it as its next homeowner. So those are some suggestions I give to my buyers. And then my main suggestion for my buyers and my sellers is just trust in the process. Have faith in this process because a real estate transaction, Paula, there are a zillion and one things that can pop up with title, inspection, appraisal, the other owner, the neighbors, the HOA documents. And, certainly that's why you have a team of professionals
Yeah.
behind you to navigate those. But you just got to trust in the process. It will all work itself out. And if something falls through a week, 10 days before closing, it wasn't meant to be your house. So that's my
Yeah.
main advice I give to people.
Yeah. And that was the piece that I kept thinking when you were talking is like sometimes no is the right answer because yes is coming soon. It might not be the right one now, even if you really love it, but what is coming in this future, you don't know. But
Right.
hold on, trust the process. I love it. Love it.
I always tell people at closing, there's never been a client that is at the closing table that says, "Man, I really wish we'd bought that other house." They never say that. They're always so happy about the house that they are buying, no matter how the process shook out.
Well, it's a new relationship. It's
Yeah, it
exciting.
is.
They're getting ready to go get to know their home and their dwelling and their place where they're going to lay their head and have conversations and meals and sleep. And, that's where they live. It's
Yeah.
such a critical factor. And I think that that's partly why, I was excited about this conversation with you because it's something that you and I both really, really get. Some people look at real estate as a transaction, but it's such a critical transaction because it is the dwelling in which we literally live the vast majority of our life, especially right now. You know, in these current times, we are in our homes. So
Yeah.
it's really, really important to consider all that comes into that buying, selling, living.
Absolutely. Yeah. More
Right.
people are working and homeschooling and creating new spaces within the home that they never thought they would have.
Yeah. Well, so one of my last questions for you is, you've been a consciouspreneur for about 10 years.
Mhm.
You've really grown into this walk of understanding consciousness for yourself, for your business, for the people that you work with as buyers, sellers, or even just people who are staying in their homes. And as you've gotten to do this, you've gotten to know many other consciouspreneurs. You know, a lot of us in this type of a circle. What is a piece of advice, because you're very successful at what you do, that you would offer to other consciouspreneurs?
Man, I love your questions, Paula. I love them.
Thank you.
And what I love about them is my gut and my intuition always tells me what to lead with in an answer. There's no research involved. There's no preparing. But this question I've really had to focus on the last couple of years throughout my own life transitions. And it's just focusing on your path. What's that path? Where are we going? What does it look like? I've always been very fortunate that I can vision and I can dream. But sometimes I'm like, that's too much. It's too much. Is that too much? And for me, it's just been harnessing, okay, what is the path? Where am I going? And what's the one thing I need to do today, right now, to continue down that path? So that would be my advice.
Right. Stay in the day.
Yeah.
Stay
Yeah.
focused. Stay on path.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that, it's such a great answer. I know it's been a really tough year for me to do that. And so many other consciouspreneurs. I mean, this has been a year of a lot of change for people. So such a great piece of advice. And I've had to, reel myself back into that one many times. So thank you. What a great reminder.
Oh, you're welcome. And I've had to remind myself that too. In fact, I had, an energetic shift in my own house in my bedroom. I pulled out the TV. I was like, I don't want the TV. There was a mirror that really didn't go well, feng shui wise. Like, I don't want the mirror. And then I had this wall and I'm like, what do I do with this wall now?
Right.
And so my big thing is to pave the way. I know my path, but how can I pave the way for others? And I found this huge, and I'll send you a picture of this huge piece of art that is a boardwalk going out to the ocean.
Oh,
And so now I wake up and I look at that. That's my path.
right.
So special to me. That's my path.
I love it. Yeah, there's certain, like you mentioned my background when we got on the call, and this took me a good week just to set this room up.
Yeah.
It's my home office, and it was really
It feels
important
so
that I got
cozy.
right in every single angle. But one of my pieces, you can't see it in the camera, is the desiderata. And it's such a critical piece for me, because whether I'm here or I'm in my big chair working,
Yeah.
it's something that I really love and believe in. And it's just such an important piece because it's really old and beat up. I found it at a garage sale 20 years ago.
What a
But
great
we
find.
all have these little things
Yeah.
that kind of keep us in that grounded, I am home kind of way. So
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
Very cool. Love it. So tell us how we can find you. Is there anything that you've got going on right now you want to share about, or do you just want to share some information? How can people get in touch with you if they want to ask some questions about buying or selling, or if they've got a home to sell or they need to buy, or how do they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Sell with Brooke is my team. Sellwithbrooke.com. You can find me on Instagram at Sell with Brooke. You can find me on Facebook at Sell with Brooke. I'm pretty easy to find. So sellwithbrooke.com is where you'll find it. And it's Brooke with an E.
And I will put that in the video itself. It'll be in both the introduction header of the video, the closing, as well as the links that are posted on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. So
Awesome.
it'll be easy to find you. So great.
Perfect.
So thank you again, dear. I just adore you so much. I'm so grateful for your friendship and for how you walk in the world. The world is just so lucky to have you, especially the world of real estate. You're just a gem. And I know that is why you are so successful. And you were successful out of the gate. And it's because of your heart and your soul and your consciousness. So thank you so much for this time.
Thank you. You're most welcome. And thank you, my dear. And I'm excited to see you on Saturday morning. Okay.
Very cool. See you then.
All right. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.